Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Hello, and welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And I'm so excited today. We have Cassie Parks today with us. And I just learned that she is a local to Colorado, and we're going to have a pool party. Okay. She is the fairy godmother for people who struggle to manifest more than just parking spaces. Through her positive reality podcast, books, and online coaching programs, she shakes up your approach to using the law of attraction while making it fun, easy, practical, and of course, fun. So Cassie, welcome to the show. I can't wait to dive in. I love your topic. And this is something we can talk about all day long. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, even more excited because you love the pool. And that's like my thing. So I'm excited.
I always, in my bio, you talk about being a fairy godmother. I was like, I was a mermaid in a past life, so I totally get it. I love it. And we were talking offline that I said, I started doing this where, if people want to connect with me, I say, sure, let's connect at the pool. So love it. So, for folks that don't know you yet, how did you get to where you're at today? And let's just dive in and let's get to it.
Yeah. All right. The Cliff Notes version. I manifested my first money when I was in 8th grade. It took a while to get back to that. And then I actually manifested my financial freedom to leave my corporate job by leveraging the law of attraction, shifting my money mindset, so that I had enough passive income to cover my bills and I could go leave and build my coaching practice. And I really just followed inspiration for my money, for all of my program. But I had outlined it about 6 months before I left. I wrote it when I left, when it felt good, and I launched it, and it was the best launch I'd ever had. And then that's what people wanted to learn from me. And so then it just started building from there.
I love it. I love it. And so you talk about if I understood this right, like the 10,000 manifesting $10,000. Is that right?
Yeah, that is.
That's fun. I love it. I love it. I just found the best new app recently, and I've shared it a couple times on here, but I'm going to do it again because I'm never knowing who's listening. And oh my gosh, it's called The Secret to Money. And
awesome.
It's by the person who wrote The Secret,
Rhonda
Bryan. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's just a fantastic app. And I love it because it puts us in that mindset of always looking at, money, and looking for money and evidence and stuff. And it's a great way to track stuff. And the universe quote gives you a check every day, and it increases every time you utilize it. But what's fascinating is just some awareness that I had the other day. I started using it about 6 months ago, and I've personally given out, $12,000 in the last 12 months or 6 months, or 5 months here. But what I have manifested back has been extraordinary. I think as of today, it's been about $253,000 manifested back, like coming back. Isn't that yummy? Isn't that yummy?
That's
yummy.
awesome.
So I love it. So I love hearing the overcomer story because it wasn't this easy in the beginning. And I like to have people share that transformational story that went from, not being able to manifest or even create and generate to the place that you are today. So what did you have to overcome? What did you have to, work through and work around and work, to get to where you're at today?
Yeah. There's probably more than one of these, but this one feels like the one to share today. Is really that money doesn't have to be hard. Money can be easy, and living into that place where money can be easier. I can make money easier, and becoming that person. And so the biggest thing that really inside of that I had to overcome or learn was that I couldn't fix myself into that place. I had to grow and become the person. You can't fix money is hard. You have to become someone for whom money is easy.
Yeah. I like that. I talk a lot about who do you get to become, right? In order to match the vibration of that in which you're desiring. And so I absolutely love that concept of that, but that's easy. That's easier said than done, right?
Yeah,
Like, folks
absolutely.
are like, you're like, okay, what was the formula? What was the steps in order to, go from money is hard
Hmm.
and money is difficult and money doesn't grow on trees and all those programs that we picked up, money has to be a struggle, there's lack, there's not enough, you know all the stuff. What was it, how did you start shifting that in your mindset?
Choosing the story that I wanted to be true.
Okay.
So I had to choose over and over, money can be easier. I had to choose, yes, I'm going to receive this easy money. Yes, I'm going to receive this raise. And I'm going to be conscious of, did I just in my mind create a whole bunch more work for myself to justify the raise? And really, that was a big one for me when I was in my job and I would manifest a $20,000 raise. I realized after a couple, I then had a pattern of creating stress in my life at work that didn't need to be there. And so I also had to let that be easy. I had to, let myself not have to work more hours because I got a raise, which was not a conscious thing. It wasn't like, oh, I
Right.
got $20,000 more, I think I should work 2 more hours a day. Right. And so choosing that ease, choosing that story I wanted to be true over and over again, and then looking for the evidence of that. Looking for people who were where money was easier, people who were making passive income, people who had manifested money easier, people who had get money given to them, any story that backed up what I want. Because when we look for those stories, our brain naturally starts to shift without a lot of work.
Mhm.
Which is why I do one of my podcasts, so that people have stories available where they can just go plug in and hear people. Oh, somebody just gave her a $1,000 a night place in Maui. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, someone just gave her $300. Cool. Because that really programs our brain to be like, oh yeah, that's possible. That's happening in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
So I love this idea, this piece of this. And again, you're using these words strategically, and you're saying choosing. I am choosing this story. I'm choosing this story because I think so often we get in the programmed pattern and habits of choosing a story that's no longer in alignment with us. And we're choosing the story based on our previous programming, previous traumas, previous parents or ancestors or other relatives that says this is true. And I truly believe that, our stories serve us to some extent, but at some point they stop serving us. And that's when it becomes the challenge. But you're choosing that in which you desire. And I think that's so important to highlight, because it is an active choice until we start to reprogram the brain for it to find the evidence. And I mean, that is the secret formula right there that you're talking about, is you're making a choice, choosing that in which you desire, not what you don't
Mm-hmm.
desire, but what you do desire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the brain is now, activated, and it is now fully engaged. It is fighting the evidence. The evidence becomes your successes becomes, I'll take more of that. And then we this abundance cycle, right, where it's like, oh, it's always showing up. Here it is. Like, it is so much fun. I think that's just like, that's where the juice, the nectar lives, because it's like, oh yes, I wonder. And folks that are watching me on the podcast can't hear this, but I'm like, taking my fingers and tapping them. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what else is next, right? So what can you share with folks that have struggled with the choice, struggled with, like, I don't know if I deserve it, because there's some other programming. I mean, we can say it, I mean, we can boil it down, and as my mentor says to me, keep it simple, right? And even though we can keep it simple, we have these stories that says, well, maybe like today, for example, literally got off the call today, and the person goes, I don't even know if I deserve to be in your group because everybody else appears to be so much more successful than I am. And I'm like, well, that's a great story. And how is that serving you? You're absolutely right. You absolutely deserve to be in this group because we're going to help transform that.
But it isn't that interesting, the stories that we tell ourselves to prevent ourselves from taking action in this simplified way. So unpack some more of that for us.
Yeah. So if you want that example, I recently coached a client on this, and she said that, and I said, that's you get to choose. You get to choose when you show up, and you deserve it. I can't, it's not the money that you paid. It's not that. You get to choose when you show up. And I think that the one of the things that gets in people's way of choosing their story is that they've been also programmed to believe they have to explain. So if something isn't working, I have to come up with an explanation, which is really a story. Oh, if I'm not getting X, or I don't feel good about X, I must not deserve it. And that's where you have to become conscious. It's where, I'm sure your clients get help with this. It's what is crucial in what I do with my clients is interrupting those, because often people aren't even realizing that story, right? They just talk about that and they're like, oh yeah, and I don't deserve it, so I'm afraid of this. And there's 4 stories in there, within 30 seconds that are all focused on what you don't want. And so great. Is that the story you want? That simple. Is that the story you want to tell more of? Is that the story you want to be true tomorrow? If not, choose differently in this moment, right? We don't have to fix anything. We don't have to, from my perspective, we don't have to go do a bunch of self-worth exercises. I don't have to convince you that you deserve it. You just get to choose, okay, well, I'm going to show up in anyway. It doesn't matter if I deserve it. I get to choose to show up.
Yeah.
And then eventually I will be like, yeah, I deserve to be here. It won't even actually come up as a story anywhere. There will be no deserving. It'll just be I belong here.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. I love this idea of just making the conscious choice. And even if we have to put Post-it notes, somewhere as a reminder, be yes, this is what am I choosing today? And that literally could be the Post-it note. What am I choosing today? And continue to bring it in conscious awareness. I am choosing this. This is the story. And as soon as we start finding that evidence, it's game over, because that evidence is so, and I don't know about you, but I have all my clients and they have evidence journals, and I have them write in their evidence journal, all the evidence, because if they're having this moment of question, or if they're having this moment of self-doubt, or, am I worth it? Can I do this? I say, go through your evidence journal, because you have pages and pages and pages and pages that say a different story, that is spoken. We've spoken life into this. And you can't argue with your own data. You can't argue with what you've created and you've manifested and generated.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody keeps an evidence log. They have to post it. It's an assignment every so often, right? Because, and it's one of the things that's interesting, because I think sometimes, I don't know about your clients, but my clients take that for granted. It's oh, today's the day I post evidence. No, that's the full on 20-minute assignment for today. Invest that 20. We have this conversation a lot. That is working equally as doing some other assignment. It's cool.
And again, we can boil this down and keep it simple, right? And again, where are we putting our energy? Where are we putting our focus? Where are we, committed to? Because we're spending that time either in the negative form of that or in the positive form of that. And in my opinion, okay, why not invest in the positive form of that? Because that usually takes us further faster, right?
Yeah.
And so, if we're going to be spending that time spinning our wheels, it might as well be the fun side of it, right?
Yeah, it might as well choose what feels good. That's what I will always tell people when it comes to this. You can document whatever you want, choose what feels better. It doesn't feel better to do a list of what's not happening or what's wrong. It feels really good to tune into what's happening and what is going right.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't not have a money manifestor queen on here without asking the question, with about specifically money, because I think that is especially, on the backdrop of our current economy, which is in the toilet in a lot of ways. Yet, and I always tell people, there's so much money to be made, whether it's an up economy or a down economy, irrelevant, because we can still be generating and creating. And oftentimes when it's a down economy, we can actually generate and create more. Would you agree with that statement?
I think it's a story we tell. So if you tell a story, I can make money anytime.
Yeah.
That those outside, that doesn't matter, right? If
Yeah.
you're like, I can make money anytime, you don't get sidetracked either by what, oh, this, that. You're like, okay, what's my next move? Right? What do I want to do? And so, I mean, I believe that there's always potential to make money. And I believe you can go back and you can find all the stories of that. You can find all these opportunities where people have always made money in any situation.
Yeah, I love it. And, you know, even I share this story when got back in 2008, you know, when the economy was crashing. And I wanted at that time to, you know, expand my business pretty drastically. And I remember my CPA going, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Do you not see what's happening?" And I'm like, "No, I'm very aware of what's happening." So I let him go. Okay. Feel supportive to
that's important, right? Like
then I hired a new person, and so funny because his perspective was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's do this." And you know, ironically, in all of this, I would not have been able to afford the place that I still occupy years and years later. You know, from 2008, that's when I moved in. And I still am there to this day, and I still pay crazy cheap rent. I would not have been able to afford the place I have now. You know, about 5 years ago, we did a massive renovation, and we took on another gigantic space next door. And but I was like, gosh, I'm so grateful that I did not listen to the naysayer, you know, CPA that I had at the time. So grateful that I got a new one that validated my story. And honestly, like I was, and maybe that's selfish, but I was like, I'm going to find the people that are going to validate my story. My story is like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yes.
and the evidence is there. And so sometimes we have to be, you know, to understand that if it's that person or that partnership or that collaboration is not in alignment with our mission and our vision, then it's okay to, you know, let them go on. And I'm sure he's been, you know, whatever he's up to this day, I wish him well. And it just didn't serve me in that way, in that capacity. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, like, you know, like now it's funny because I look back and I'm like, gosh, I'm still like I'm paying X amount of rent. And now it's like the building that I quote should be paying is like, you know, a lot more than a square foot. And I'm in like a hub place, you know, I'm in the DTC area, which is like a hub place and one of the highest, you know, per capita income producing places, you know? And so it's like, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, good for us, you know? So, you know, looking at those opportunities for growth too.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. Like you have to have people on your team who support your mission. And if they don't, there is, it's just, you know, it's just not in alignment, and you don't have to give an explanation. You can just be like, hey, this isn't working anymore. I'm going to move forward in a different direction. But that trips people up for whatever reason, you know?
And again, it becomes, if we are not aware of that, what happens energetically is that they can pull our company down. They can pull the energies of what we're creating down. Like it's like, okay, nope, I'm going here. And so let's find the other folks that are calibrating at a higher calibration, you know, to be in alignment with the current energy that we're manifesting and generating from. So again, it is this journey of really, you know, looking at what's serving and what's not serving. And like going back to your point of like, you know, what's the story that we are generating and creating right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's so important. And I would change it a little bit. I would say it a little different, because I don't give anyone else like power to pull my stuff. It's what happens, I believe, if we're staying someplace we shouldn't, then we create energetic friction. We create crap that doesn't feel good, because that's a reflection of where we're being. If we're in a place that doesn't feel good and we know isn't in alignment, we're going to create some stuff. And because things can't flow, things can't move, things are going to be friction. And so I always like to bring it back, like, oh, I created that. And I have these conversations with my clients too. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. Like, yep, so-and-so showed up like that, but I created the friction. I created the energy, and I need to take responsibility for that and make a different choice.
Yeah. or creating that dissonance, that dissonance energy,
Mhm.
which can create like that resistance or that friction or, whatever that might be looking like for us. So I love that, taking ownership for what we're creating and generating. What are we putting out there? And then here's again, if we don't like what we're seeing and we're not liking what we're experiencing, we have an opportunity to tweak it. And usually the energy responds immediately to that tweak. And it's like, whoop,
Yeah.
up, back on track,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
love it.
Because
I love it.
yeah.
Okay, so juicy. What tip, trick, or strategy is one of your favorite ones that we can share with the audience today, so that they can start practicing and playing with that, in whether that's in the money mindset, and attracting more money, or just attracting anything? Because really, these principles apply to all aspects of our lives.
Yeah. So I always say the story you tell today is the life you live tomorrow. And we've talked a lot about this, but I think remembering it in that simple form, the story I tell today is the life I live tomorrow. So what story am I telling right now? So in any moment, my tip for this, I give this to my clients too, is to just set an alarm on your phone and have it go off, whatever feels like in the middle of annoying and not enough, right? So whether that's 5 times a day or that's 20 times a day, and in that moment, stop and become aware, like, oh, did I just tell any stories? Did I pull up my debit card and be like, oh, that's so much more money? Or was I like, oh, yay, I'm excited to invest in this, right? Whatever it is, just give yourself those moments to start becoming aware of that story, so that you are telling the story that you want to live tomorrow, and giving yourself the opportunity to change tomorrow just by choosing your story.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been absolutely delightful, Cassie. I can't wait to connect. We're gonna meet up and we're gonna connect. You'll be my first connection. Well, second. I actually have one other podcaster that we connected in person. She flew in to connect. So this will be my second in-person connection with a podcastee. I love it.
Yay.
So where can folks connect with you, follow you, take your challenge, and do all that juiciness?
You just go to morecassie.com, CASSIE. All the links for whether you're a book reader, a podcast listener, and you want to manifest money, it's all there.
I love it. Well, it's absolutely been a delight. Continue doing the work that you're doing. We need more people like you, leading the pack and giving us permission to rise and be the light for others. So thank you so much for your time and your expertise on this topic.
Thank you.
I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.